About her a little bit, yeah.
Yep.
For those of you who I have something in your business by, I usually say Friday, but that's tomorrow. So we'll say by Monday. Okay. So if we're sitting here in the middle of the session or at the end and you haven't identified that one thing, ask questions to figure out what you can implement. And you just want this to be productive. So this is Maia Poling. Let's give a round of applause. So on the Shannon Bird team group experience, the Bird team. So so Shannon and I go way back. Shannon helped me in 2007 in a very traumatic real estate experience where I think I had to bring like $60,000 to the table for a home I overbought in Richfield. And I consider her a dear colleague and friend, even though we see each other like twice a year. And Maya's on the team, right?
Yeah.
So in preparation for today, I asked Shannon, hey, tell me about Maia. What do you love about working with her and what makes her successful? So we're going to start off with this direct quote from Shannon, who is here, which is a great treat. So as well as Claire, the administrative side of the team, right? Welcome, Claire. So Maia is an inspiration in so many ways. She cares deeply. She brings energy that motivates, and she is fun. I am so grateful for the spirit she has brought to our team and our lives.
Thanks, friend.
So there you go. So you guys are in the presence of a very special lady, and we're excited to learn about you. So if you would, Maia, just tell us your professional journey prior to real estate, and then how you got into real estate and all the fun stuff in between.
Well, I do think that I think of myself as a mini mega agent. Mega agent feels a little old for me, but I'll go with it. So I started in real estate only 2 years ago, actually. I was in education for 20 years. I started my career teaching in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and then a little bit in Portland. And then I moved to Minneapolis, and I was in administration. I was a head of a small school in St. Louis Park, and did teacher training and support and curriculum development. I never thought that I would be in real estate. And then COVID hit. Both of my parents, unfortunately, were ill and passed away within a year of one another. And it was a real reset for me in my life, and what I wanted and how I wanted to spend time, and how I wanted to harness the things that I loved about being an educator and being in schools, working with teachers and parents and children, but knew that that was a path that was not right for me anymore. So I took some time off, and Jen and Shannon were my neighbors and had become my friends. And I was working for a design and build company for a little while, kind of getting my feet wet in that world of project management and working with clients on the finishes of renovations. And I don't know, we were playing pickleball. Shannon said, have you ever thought about real estate? I think you'd be really great at it. And I think that was a February, and I was licensed by June. So it happened real fast.
So February 2023.
2023. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. That's why I'm a mini mega agent.
Well, and to give you perspective, so let's talk about that. So I looked up the team's production in 2024 according to the regional rankings. The team did 81 units, 47 million in volume, and like 1.3 million in gross commission income. And then to separate your production, I was able to look in broker metrics. So rolling last 12 months, about 25 units and 15.5 million in volume for you specifically. So I think we all can agree that's more than many. So that's incredible. So
I will say those are probably not always fully accurate.
correct.
There could be probably a lot more credit given to Maia for that production.
Thank you.
There you go. Love that.
In a lot of ways.
Thank you.
Well said. So why Minneapolis? Are you from the Bay Area, or give us just kind of your?
Yeah, I grew up in Atlanta. And then I was in the Bay Area for college and graduate school. And then I met my used to be husband, recent divorce. And I moved here, and it's been wonderful. We have 2 wonderful boys and have built a great life here. Didn't think I'd stay. I still might not, but I'm here. I'm here. I need to be here. I got to make some more money. I'm here for a little bit longer.
I had what I call practice marriage in my 20s. So
Okay. It was a little later than that, but yeah.
So how old are the boys?
They are 14 and 11.
Wow, 14 and 11.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yay, Perry, you're the first one that actually has little kids that's been sitting up here.
Oh, great.
Love it. It makes me so happy.
My mom. I have little kids. I like calling them little kids because I feel like they are all of a sudden
Moms, but they're like older kids.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, great.
So to Angie's point, I have had requests for like, let's have a Mega Mom series. So you're the
Mega mom. I like that. Mega mom, but a mini mega agent.
so you might be the first of many here. So and we'll go down that road as far as, we're balancing 2 kids, we're balancing a business, we're balancing life, we're
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
have somewhat of a personal life too, hopefully.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah. So we'll talk about what all that looks like too, and please definitely ask questions as we go. So, so you bring this entire education background into a completely different world.
Mhm.
How is that adjustment? I mean, clearly you've done pretty well, but talk through just the learning curve and the kind of emotional and physical adjustment of all that.
I think the first day in the office when I got my license and I came to work, I cried and said, I think I was done. Wasn't going to do it. I just didn't think this was up. I couldn't do it. So I think the emotional adjustment was big. It was a complete identity shift for me. I had been doing one thing, and that was where I was trained. I have my master's in education and early literacy. Like, that was the road I was on. And to make such a big shift and to be in a world that felt so incredibly different was hard. I would not in a million years have done this if it hadn't been Shannon and Jen. I knew them as friends, and I also knew their success. And I knew when they said they would mentor me and help me, I knew that they were 100% genuine in that. So I remember walking around the office the first week, and they'd say, oh, you joined the floor team. Oof, that was a good move, or good on you, or like, ooh, you're lucky. And so I had this sense that, I was in the right place and I was going to be learning from the right people. But yeah, it was a shift. And I think that one of the things that I say when I meet with buyers, particularly, I think sellers need plenty of education too, but particularly buyers, I talk a little bit about my background in education, and that I like to think of myself as a guide and a teacher and using those skills. Because this is a brand new process, and a lot of first-time home buyers that, have never done this, and even people who've lived in one home but have never sold one. I mean, selling is different, and then buying again, and, helping people really feel that they are being taught and led and supported through that process. I also will say that when you work in education and you deal with teachers who are wonderful, but then when they're not wonderful, they're really hard and they're mad at you all the time. And then parents who can be wonderful, but then if you do wrong by their children, they're furious at you, isn't super different than an agent or a client being angry or frustrated with you. So I feel like those skills of diffusing and staying calm and problem solving were all skills I used when I was leading schools and teachers. And now I use them when I'm working with clients.
Love that. So, let me ask you specifically, and I'm asking because I'm betting everyone in the room can relate, whether you've been in the business as long as Shannon has and me, you're a little bit longer, or, you're newer like Garrett. So when you had that moment of, holy smokes, first day I can't do this, and can you kind of walk through the emotions of that and or why and what that was like? And then more importantly, how did you get through that to just move forward early on?
Well, I described it as it felt like I was drinking out of a fire hose. It just felt like, I mean, the classes, we all took the classes, and those are, I don't think they're anything that helps you at all. I think you have to be out in the field and working with clients and writing the purchase agreements and, all of those things. But I think the feeling was I'm drinking out of a fire hose and I'm never going to be able to do this. And all of a sudden I gave up a steady income and insurance, and I'm now going to, and my ex-husband is a teacher. And so I had been in education and purposely went into administration because we wanted to have someone who was making a little bit more money than the average teacher. So then it was like, okay, now I'm making $0 and my husband's a teacher. I have 2 children. I have a house. It was just like, how am I going to be able to do this? I think that Vanessa Miller and I are very good friends too. And we all live on the same street.
On the same block.
And one day I took a walk with a mutual friend of ours who's in sales and just in the business world. And I was just saying to her, I said, Clea, this feels so overwhelming. And how am I ever going to do this? And she said something that I think about all the time. She said that a mentor of hers once said to ask yourself at the end of the day, did you move the needle today? And I can tell you that every single day, if I ask myself that question in the work world, in the business world, if I say, did you move the needle today? I can say, absolutely. And so that felt like that was the baby step for me was, did I move the needle? Obviously, Shannon, Jen, and at that time we had a different transaction coordinator and support staff than Claire. Claire was an agent. So, I was shadowing her, going out on buyer's appointments or showings. Molly was really helping me get up and running, understanding the MLS and showing time and Supra. So I feel like I had incredible support at every step of the way. But I do think that, like, what did I do today that moved the needle for my business and for my learning curve really helps me. I think about it all the time.
And so you ask yourself that every day or pretty close?
I
Your work
mean,
day?
I cannot say that I have a ritual of like asking myself every day, but I think I do. It's somewhere in, particularly on the days where things haven't gone great. I'm like, did I move the needle? And Shannon, once I remember like I don't know, maybe I had I had done a few deals and I like walked into the office like in the middle of the week. I don't remember if you remember this. You were like, how are you? I was like, not good. Not good. I'm just very stressed. I just am not feeling good. And Shannon was like, what? You didn't sell a house today? And it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm doing it. I am doing well. I had a closing. I just had a buyer consult. Like I just, did, and it's like, slow your roll. Like give yourself a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah. So, John,
Can I ask how you're able to step back and give an honest answer to that question and not let like the feelings override what you actually did or didn't do?
You mean how do I
You did.
move the needle?
like what's your movie?
Oh, well, for me, it's like, did I talk to someone new about real estate? Did I reach out to people in my sphere? Did I have a productive phone call with a client? Did I, have a good like brainstorming session with Shannon? Did Claire and I do something cool with social media? Like, did we do something today that felt significant? Not just, I don't know.
Well, because I think your example of walking in and feeling like you're
Yeah.
stressed and anxious, like that can override what actually happened
Yeah.
in the day.
Yeah.
We ask ourselves that question, so it's important to be honest with yourself and not just feel good or bad.
Yes. And I do think the older I've gotten and the more honestly like hard shit that I've gone through, it is easier for me to say, is this reality, or are these your fears? Like what's real here, and what is your insecurities or your fears, or I mean, I go real quick into the future. And so pulling myself back and being like, wait, what really did happen today? Or were you successful? Did you help a client? Did you have a good conversation with another agent? Like just kind of being like, I have to do a lot of like, whoa, doggy, like pulling myself back.
Well, one thing I would add to that too, Maya, is thinking about like from a distance and seeing you come into that role and hearing you talk about like feeling like you were drinking out of a fire hydrant is what I was so impressed with right away, was your ability to come in and not let the small things snag you. Like we do so many things in this role, so many things.
Yeah.
And it expands every year.
Yeah.
What we're supposed to be doing, or we think we're supposed to be doing. But you just kept moving forward. Even if you didn't know how to get into MLS, you were still selling a house. Like you were figuring out how to make it happen. And I think that's what really highly successful people do, is they do not let the small stuff get in the way of their success. They're
Yeah.
going to make it happen.
So the way John did a good job of promoting you and talking to our office was you were the rookie of the year with the board. Is that correct? Of 9,000 agents, give or take, first year production, you were the rookie of the year in your first year.
Yeah.
Second year.
Or
I think it was like
The first
agent
full year.
the first full year. So I mean, to give you perspective, we started and we clearly did really well from a production standpoint. So that's amazing on paper, but walk us through, I mean, what really happened those first months and what do you attribute your success to? And for the new people in the room, you're probably looking back at your first couple of deals, like, where did we get those and how did all that happen and how did we learn through all the chaos? So just give us a sense of what that first 6 months looked like.
I mean, I think that I am a connector and I am a people person. And I had, I taught at two different schools in Minneapolis that, and my kids are at those schools. My kids play soccer, live in a neighborhood. I like people and I like to make friends. And so I think that I just kind of really, when I started out, really tapped into who I knew. And sometimes I couldn't believe that someone selling, $1 million house was calling me and they probably knew it was my second deal. But I think it was like, well, you led the school that my children went to and you built a budget and you fundraised and you were in charge of 60 faculty, and I really liked and respected you. So if you can do that, I bet you can sell a house. I kind of thought like, probably not, but they believe, like they saw what I had done in my past. And I think that people who are doing career changes, I mean, I think I was 40 when I left the school job. So I guess I was 42 when I got my license. And so it felt like, is this really the time to be making such a big career move? But I think that, I tried to use the connections and the people that I knew. And, Shannon said something that I always think about too. And I think this was important in building my business and connecting with people. And I still think about it now, is you have to constantly stay out in front of people. And when they think about real estate, they have to think about Maya. They have to think about Shannon. They have to think about the Bloor team. You have to be the last person they talk to about real estate. And obviously I'm not in everybody's face saying, use me as an agent, but I think that, my sphere was incredibly supportive from the get-go, which kind of surprised me. And they still are. A soccer person will walk up to me, we have these dual things going on, a buy and a sell, but for a lot of money. And it was like some woman who I didn't even think liked me very much, who my kid plays soccer with. And she was like, oh, we had that one conversation about schools and all. I was like, you'd be great. You'd be such a wonderful person to work with. So I think it's like, I just talk and I'm just myself. And I think that people trusted me somehow. So I think, it was my sphere. It was staying out in front of people when I meet people at open houses, when I, connect with someone and they casually say I might want to sell. Like, I bank that, I write it down, and then I call them in a week, and then I text them in a month, and then I call them again, and then I throw an off market at them. And I try to just constantly be a little bit in their face, but I think I do it in a respectful way.
Nice. So, so what systems, so you're talking about the systems like text, follow-up, all that, but so in the beginning and/or what do you do now? What systems did you put in place to kind of announce your business or let the sphere know? Was it we sent a card, we sent a letter, we did social media, we just, I mean,
Yeah.
you talked to a lot of people, but what was the actual system behind the scenes that either you implemented or Shannon
Yeah.
made you implement, or, what did all that look like? And then what does it look like today as you continue to build?
Well, I think, they asked me, and we ask any new agent who's joining the team to think about 100 people who you know and who are your advocates. And then even Shannon said, take it smaller. So I think within my first few weeks, I thought of 30 people who I felt I knew would want me to succeed. So we sent a postcard and I just wrote a little like letter on it that was just like, I'm super excited about this new chapter in my life. I joined this wonderful team. A little bit about the Lakes office, a little bit about the team I was joining. Because I think people was like, oh, she's not a solo agent. She's going to have the support of a team to learn from. And then I just said, I would love to support you. And so we did that. And then I will admit in front of my team that I have not been as good in the last, I think, 6 months with working the numbers in command. I mean, sorry, the letters. It's the letters. But I think in the beginning I was really good at that.
Do the database too, like.
Yeah, like go through and look at notes, and I was just thinking about like that being a goal for this summer. Not that things will necessarily be slow, but trying to get back to that and then writing myself notes. Oh, they said they were thinking about listing in November. Well, if I miss the boat and I don't get in touch with them in September, then they might go with someone else. So it's like putting the notes in command, using them. And Claire, I'll give a tip that I think is great. Either if you can have someone do it for you or you can do it yourself. Claire will print out, she will go into both Shannon and my commands, and she will pull, the list of 10 people with those letters that I need to contact that week. And then it's just on a piece of paper. So I don't have to go into command. It's super helpful. And then, so I know I have to call those people. And then I take notes. And then when I have, a little bit of time, then I go back and put them into command. I don't know. That's been helpful just to have, okay, you need to talk to these 12 people this week because they are W and V.
And is it an actual call? Is it a text? Is it
Not always.
What does that look like?
It's either a call or a text. It's rarely an email.
What do you say?
Hey, it's Maya. Hope you're doing well. Would you want to take a walk around the lake this week? That's one. Would you want to go have coffee? Some people do want to go have a drink, and I'm fine to do that. I remember that you said your mom was moving in January. I'm making this one up, but and you wanted to introduce her to me. Can we do that? I mean, just trying to do something where I know we had a conversation about you guys starting to look and list, could Shannon and I come out? Because Shannon and I tend to do listing appointments together. So could Shannon and I come and take a look at the house, or could we meet up? And sometimes they don't respond, and I write that in my notes, but I still go back. Not annoying. I really do not think I'm annoying. And I take a hint. If I haven't heard from someone 3 or 4 times, I'm done. But I will keep going.
Nice. Questions you guys have? We're almost halfway through. My next question is going to be about balancing your business and mom life, but what questions do you guys have? All right.
When you were having a bad day, was it because of something blowing up in real estate?
Usually.
So,
Or just, I think I'm like, I tend to take too much on. Like I tend to think that I can fit it all in, and I am getting better at that. And I think my bad days come from saying I'll do too much, running late, forgetting my computer. Thank goodness we had a listing appointment yesterday. I mean, a buyer appointment yesterday. I forgot my computer. Good thing Claire had it because that was my presentation. But like when I'm moving too quickly and I make mistakes, or I just feel overwhelmed, then I feel like it's a bad day. And I am trying to come up with systems where I have less moments like that.
So, when you got licensed, the kids were 11 and 8-ish, right?
Yeah.
And now we're 14 and 11, 2 boys, you said.
Yeah.
So how, I guess, are they with you 50% of the time, full time, all of that? What does that look like? And then how do you just kind of balance all of that and be a great present mega mom and mega agent?
I mean, in all honesty, my boys really saw the toll that my head of school job took on me. It was also when both of my parents were ill and living far away. And I think they saw a much happier mom once I transitioned to real estate. They said it. I will tell you one story. When I told my youngest, he was probably 7 at the time, that I was leaving the school, he said to me, "Oh, does that mean you're going to walk around the house and say fuck less?" No, because he was hearing me on the phone with the board president or, my assistant or someone. And I do have a bad mouth. I mean, I have a dirty mouth. I dropped that bomb, but it was like, yes, it was hilarious. And it was also really poignant. They saw my stress level. They saw that I also went from one job that didn't have a turnoff switch to another. You're dealing with, truly, like a teacher dies on a Sunday, that happened, and we have to do damage control. A kid is hospitalized, there's damage control. A teacher leaves in the middle of the school year, I had to always be available. And I was really unhappy. So I think that when I moved to real estate, they really saw, they were like, "You get to work with Shannon and Jen." They know Shannon and Jen. They thought that was really fun. I think they saw me lighter and happier. And I also think I do try to have slightly better boundaries than I had before. It's still a work in progress. I still struggle sometimes to, I think say no. Just in general, I think I sometimes struggle to say no. But, as to your question, I know when I say yes too many times that it isn't good for anybody. It isn't good for my team. It isn't good for my kids. It isn't good for my clients. And I do think the mistakes I've made in real estate really humble me and kind of scare me, to be honest. Like, they can feel scary.
Can you share some of your favorites?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think my biggest one was, you'll have to maybe remind me, Shannon, exactly what happened. Essentially, I missed, me and my clients were off on an inspection period deadline. And the agent on the other side was really difficult and had no grace or understanding. And his clients were difficult, but I can't blame it on someone else. I missed the deadline. And it got dicey with the possibility of losing earnest money because there were some big things that we needed to negotiate that really were in the best interest of my client. And that was we were just off. We had just read the calendar wrong. And, I think it really it stressed me out. It stressed the client out, and it made me feel like I had failed them, and I had. So that was a big one. And I think sometimes too, like I just had an experience with a client where I was out of town. We had two of listings going live, buyers kind of flying in off, like, "Oh, I need to see this." And my showing assistant was writing an offer, and I was trying to be present where I was out of town, but also understand that I had work. and I rushed a client through a buyer agreement, or they felt rushed. Doesn't matter if I think I did it or not. They felt rushed. And I loved that they said to me the next day, we have loved working with you. We love your team. Everything has been so amazing. So we do need to tell you that when that offer was written, I don't know how they said it. They essentially were like, that wasn't what we wanted from you. We felt rushed. And I was like, so grateful that instead of just cold shouldering me and being weird and then kind of being distant through the rest of the transaction, they just called me on it. And I was like, I am so glad you've told me this. I am so sorry. I completely understand why you feel this way. I didn't say all of the 40,000 other things that our team had going on because they don't care. They need to feel like they are the only client I have, and they didn't. And afterwards, they said, part of the reason we wanted to work with you is we knew that you would be open to this kind of feedback, and we're all good. Like like we love you again. But it was like, there were too many things, and I dropped a piece of making them feel not rushed. They were rushed because we needed to get the offer in, but I needed to make them not feel that way. But them being able to share that feedback with me and me really being able to take it and to listen to it and not be defensive, made all the difference.
Love that.
How would you do it different next time?
That's a great question. I mean, I think they were first-time home buyers, and one told me, she was like, I'm very analytical and it takes me a long time to understand. And she said, I'd like the PA just so I can look over it so that when it comes, because she knew the market and they were wanting to buy in Southwest Minneapolis at a certain price point, and they knew there were going to be a ton of offers. So she said, can I see the PA so I can look through it, and then maybe you and I can go over it sometime. And I said, that's such a great idea. And we even have now started asking people, new buyers, if they'd like 15 minutes to go over a PA with me before we get into crunch time. So they asked that, and we thought it was a great idea. I think she was traveling a lot for work. I think I was waiting for her to say, hey, can we go over that PA now? And she was waiting for me to do it, which was totally the right thing. She should have been waiting for me to do it. It was my job to say, hey, you wanted this thing. Let's make sure we do that. And so she brought that up. She said, I had told you that I was anxious about the PA and like really wanting to understand the parts. Thank you. And like, I kind of felt like you didn't then make time to, and I was like, thank you. So I would have done that. I mean, that I would have absolutely done that. And, we talked about it a little bit on the team, the two kind of support people, were busy, or I felt were busy. So I didn't want to reach out to either of them. And I probably should have taken a deep breath and say, to do what I need to do in the time I needed to do it, I needed to ask for Jen or Claire's help. And I didn't, because that's, it's like, I want to be able to do everything myself. And I think it was an example of like, no, I needed help. I was out of town. We had so many things going on. I needed to ask for help. So I guess those are the things that I would have done differently.
I do want to say too, like, this is what I love about having you on the team for me personally, because I think you can never do this business too long and not learn.
Yeah.
But like, that is one thing, like, I feel like I'm learning from you is how to, take a transaction with grace.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm sure every agent in this room has had that experience with the inspection.
Yeah.
Or a client who feels like we could do better. And like, you totally recovered that whole thing quickly and effortlessly, and they love you.
Right.
And I think that is, that's what I love watching about you, and that I learned personally. Yeah. To bring into my own personal business. So.
Nice. So, so do you work with buyers and sellers?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with both of those then, and you mentioned a showing agent, as far as like team structure or where I'm leading you is, can you just give us an idea of what your actual schedule looks like, if you have an actual schedule, and how that pertains to your personal life and the kids and whatnot?
So I do have a showing assistant. She is the TC at another team in our office. She is licensed. I think she, would maybe like to go back out there as an agent at some point, but she's great. And I probably don't use her enough because I really do like working with buyers, and I really like being out with them and looking at houses and talking. I think it totally builds trust in the relationship, so that when I'm out of town or when something, I'm like, we gotta do a pre-inspection, we gotta then waive the off, like, then they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do exactly what Maia says. And I think you build that trust by being with them. But I will use Anne if I have multiple clients who want to get into things on the same day, if I have things that are unmovable with my kids, and if I've been working with a buyer for a while. And I think that I also have some buyers who I feel like, constantly need to be like in my arm. I need to be carrying them along. And there are some people, like if I said Anne's going to show you, I think they'd kind of panic. But now when I meet with buyers, I'm being very proactive about that. I say in the beginning, it's always going to be me. I want to get to know you. I want to see what you like and, how we interact together. I said there could be a time when you want to see something and I'm not available. And I try not to say because I'm with another client. I just say I'm not available or I have family obligations. And then I do have a showing assistant and I tell them a little bit about Anne because I want them to not be like, well, I didn't know that you weren't going to be able to show me every single property. I want to tell them that could happen. So that was, I guess, the Anne piece. And I pay her on my own, just
For showing typically, or?
for showing. Yeah, I pay her. Well, no, I pay her $30 an hour. And she just calculates and sends me a Venmo request. And that's been great. I would say my schedule is no schedule. I mean, we have a team meeting that we're all very religious about. I was on an accountability group. I had a little, I always say this, like, what I always mix up. I said to someone the other day, I'm not your can of worms. And he looked at me and he was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not your cup of tea. Like, whatever those things are, I mix them up a lot. But I was about to say, like, I have a stone to grind. Is that an axe to grind? An axe to grind. See? I have a little axe to grind about accountability. I'm joking. I love accountability, but I have been a part of 2 accountability groups, one that wasn't the right fit for me and one that I loved, but then kind of fell apart. So having accountability on Wednesdays also always brought me in the office and then had some routine for me. So that's the only reason why I bring up accountability, because I really liked it. And I liked that it would bring me in the office and just have me there. But a lot of what this morning, I took my kids to school. I exercised. I took my kids to school. I did a showing. I booked a pre-inspection. I talked to Claire, I came here. Now I'm going to go talk to people about the landscaping they need to do to get their house listed. Got to call a contractor, it feels like it's an endless to-do list each day. Like, what do I need to get through this day for clients and for my own life to then get to the next day?
When are you having conversations with people that you're not currently working with?
Hard. But, and I think that when I'm not busy, which hasn't been that often, I'm better at it. I think, one of the things that Shannon instills in us is time blocking. And I did that yesterday to finish my CEs. I would be up there, by the way. I thought that was very funny and clever. When I time block, when I say this is going to be an hour of lead gen, I do get it done. And I think my ADH brain works to my advantage in this way, is that like things just pop into my brain and I'll stop and I'll do it. Oh my gosh, I told Michelle that we'd take a walk. I know her brother wants to sell. So I stop what I'm doing and I send the text to Michelle. And like, I'm counting that in my lead gen and my hours, and we all track our hours and how many people we reached out to, how many hours did we lead gen, how many opens, all of those things. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I do hit my numbers every week, and I'm not lying. I'm not like making things up. The numbers I give Claire in the CTE are mostly accurate. So I'm somehow doing it. I think for sustainability, I'm going to need to be better at creating some more routines. around that.
You also do open houses and you're very good at them.
Yes, I do open houses. Yeah, I do. I meet a lot of people there.
Is that
And
where the most of your business comes from?
No, most of my business either comes from my sphere or team referrals, but I think a good amount comes from open houses.
What's a team referral?
Oh, someone that came that either Shannon and Jen have done previous business with, got our name through various searches, that that someone who's coming to the Plord team, not searching out Maya. So, and we've gotten to a place where, we're pretty, split.
how many licensed agents on the team?
Well, we're all licensed. There's 4 of us right now, soon to be 5. Uh-huh.
We're expecting.
We are expecting.
Yes.
I will say she's another blonde. Bit of a disappointment for me. A lot of blondes on the team.
Is there,
Only and two in per.
But Shannon and I are we're the
movers and the
We're the movers and the shakers. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you do at an open house that causes success that you'd recommend others
Yeah.
do? What is that?
Well, I think that I really think it is talking about off-market opportunities. That gets people in all the time. If we have our sign-in sheet, and hardly anybody signs in, and I could make them or I could push them, but I don't like to do that. So, but when someone is, I'm like, oh, are you, how long have you guys been looking? And then, I was like, oh, are you working with anybody? And, sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. And sometimes they say yes and I don't believe them. So then I keep going. And I say, have you guys ever, thought about an off-market purchase, or do you know what about off-market opportunities? And they instantly light up. And we do find people off-market. It doesn't feel like it's a lot, but it does get people to put their name down. It does get people to respond to my text. And I follow up with everyone. Pretty much I get in the car with my signs and I stop and I text everybody who I've talked to at the open house. And I just say, it was so nice to meet you. It sounds like you guys are going to be looking in Southwest Minneapolis. That's our bread and butter. Like I said, we're with the Integrity Lakes office. We have a lot of off-market opportunities. I'm going to keep my eye out for you, and I'll touch base in a few weeks. Something like that.
Take a step back to the dialogue where you ask them about off-market and that converts to getting their number. Walk us through that dialogue.
How long have you guys, something like, how long have you guys been searching? Have you put any offers in? Oh, we're just starting. Okay. If they would say we're just starting, I kind of assume maybe they don't have an agent.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do. And I just say, what area are you looking? I just kind of try to ask them some questions. And then I think I just say, would you guys be interested in hearing about any off-market opportunities in, Lyndhurst that came up? That's an area, we have a number of agents in our office, including us, who do a lot of work in Lyndhurst. Oh, well, I don't know what that is. Oh, let me tell you a little bit about it. So then it's and Shannon, again, and one thing Shannon said to me early on too was, you always want to be giving them something they don't feel like they can get elsewhere. You never want to call someone and just say, hey, it's Maya. Do you want to buy a house from me? Not that anybody in here would do that, but it's, hey, it's Maya. I've been thinking about you and I've been working with a client who's starting to list their home and they would be interested in selling it off market if it meant that they didn't have to paint and change the flooring. Would that be something you'd be interested in? So always giving someone something of value. So I feel like that off market list gets people interested, and then I can sit down with the buyer meeting. If I can just usually, I don't know what my conversion rate is. Actually, my cousin's visiting and he asked me last night, how often when you meet with a buyer or when you meet with a seller, do they choose you? We could probably figure that out. But I would say, unless I do something weird like I did last night, I did have a moment last night where I was like, those people think I am a lunatic. But it was just, I think it's actually they're about to sign. I think we got them. So maybe my crazy behavior was okay. But I feel like I don't know, 75 to 80% of the time they work with us. So I feel like if I've met you at an open house and I can get you either on a phone to have coffee with me or, to do a full buyer consult, I probably can snag you.
Mm.
So
I think our conversion
Yeah.
from opens last year was 18%, which is pretty high.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When, I know this is probably it has to be a feel thing, but like, let's say it's a really busy open house and there's a lot of people in there. Like, are you pinpoint? Are you like kind of getting, like, how are you making sure to have the conversations?
I
with
think
the
that's a
right
good
people?
question.
Are you getting them at the beginning or are you getting them as they're leaving
Honestly,
or somewhere in the
it is all, to me, it is all about how someone walks in.
Yeah.
If I can see if they are even interested in me. If I'm like, hey, hi, I'm Maya, I'm the listing agent. Thanks so much for coming in. Let me know if you have any questions. And they're like, yeah. Honestly, like I might check
You're
in
not
with
gonna
them on
push,
the
so
end,
you
but
don't let them down.
like we have this new agent who's going to start working with us, and she was shadowing me at an open, and and she's got amazing instincts, but she was like, oh yeah, that, and I'm like, exactly. And then there are the people who walk in and they're like, hey, and they're like, oh, they say to me like, oh, I love your glass. I don't wear glasses. I love your earrings. Oh, thanks. Yeah. And I just got the triple pierced. And like, I try to engage with them, and then I'll like just talk them. I'm like, what did you think? Oh, we really liked it. Or, oh, it's not. Yeah. What didn't you, I just feel like it's how they engage with me when they first walk in. And sometimes the people who've been really cold by the time I say like, what'd you think? Or did you have any questions? Sometimes they'll warm up. But yeah, I think I miss people. And I will say, I know, and I'm not proud to say this, I am sometimes on my opens and I'm sometimes not. And there are just times where I'm like, I don't know if I have it in me today. Like, I'm just going to do the open. I hope I'm going to sell the house. Maybe I'll get a few people to sign in. And then there are times I've walked away where I'm like, I just got 3 clients. I know it. I just got 3 clients. So if I can really like pep myself up, then I feel like opens are a really good way for me to get business, but I have to bring my A game.
And the hook is the off market.
That's one of the hooks. I mean, I'm the hook, really. It's like this woman who's
It's an easy ask to
It
get their
is.
number is what you're
it
saying.
is, or like, I was watching this new agent who's, working with us, and just, she was just like, oh, you guys, I don't know. It's like, it's the way you talk to people. It's just, you're not frantic. You're not uptight. You're not trying to get anything from them. Can you sign in, please? Right here. Can you sign in? We need everyone to sign in. I just don't do that, but then they will gravitate towards it sometimes completely on their own because I didn't like go after them. But I think that the off market is a one hook, and you guys have that, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's
You said
a
Austin?
great hook because then they usually say, what is that? And then you get to talk to them.
Can you tell us a little bit about your team structure? So you have 2 producing agents with 81 units in a year. What are the other 2 people of the 4 doing? I know you have, as Claire, an admin marketing person
Yeah.
full time.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what does the other person do?
So Jen is kind of books, finance, marketing. I mean, with Claire. I mean, Jen works probably part-time, about 20 hours a week. She's licensed, she can step in and show things if we need, show homes or.
And she was a producing agent.
Yeah, she was. And that's more recent. I mean, you guys would know better than I. In the last few years, she's stepped away. But we do need another person. And I would say we need another agent on the team. We want another agent. Want.
And is that due to there's more business than we have the ability to service? Or what's causing the need?
Want. The want.
I mean, I think if we really wanted to, we could service it, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be bonkers. It's just.
I'm going to be making people feel rushed.
Yeah.
Not good. I'm going to be forgetting an inspection. Not good. Like, I don't think, when am I at capacity? And I have a very hard time saying I'm at capacity, but I'm working on that in my personal and my professional life. And I would rather feel like, I don't want at the end of a transaction to be sheepish by sending them a, will you do a Google review? Because they might ignore it because they think I got them the house. I was nice. I want to be like, I'm going to send this to Greg and Nick or whatever. And I know they're going to stop everything they're doing and do it because that's how much they loved working with me. And I think that if we don't, I think that we have enough business right now that I don't feel confident that I can do that all the time.
Sure.
So if you had another person, would you pep yourself up for the open houses since you know that you're good at them because then you would know that you had more capacity?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Because I'm thinking you're not pepping yourself up for the opens when you know you're good at them because you're just afraid to take on more business.
Oh, that's interesting because you're pretty
Yeah.
good because no, you're right because there have been
I
Work for yourself.
there have been moments where I'm like, oof, do I have it in me to now court? It's like dating. Do I have it in me to now court this person and this
I already
person
have these 5.
when I already have these other things? Yeah, that's an
That's a
interesting
real
point.
feeling for a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you know when it was time to like add an admin or add the marketing person? Is there like a certain?
That's a great question. And it's not for me
Yeah.
because Shannon, because I came into the team and it was already a system that was
Oh,
happening.
gotcha. Okay.
So, I mean, that was a while ago, and I think it was just knowing that if I got stuck in the weeds of paperwork and transactions, green sheets or blue sheets or whatever they are.
Opportunities now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you not sheets? I remember those.
Pardon me?
Did you not?
No,
Coordinator?
no,
Okay.
we do everything. Claire does all of our transaction coordination, but, I think it was just knowing when I was feeling like I was hitting the wall of, and maybe even what Maya's talking about, right? Is I can't do anymore, or I'm afraid to do more. I need to do something else, right?
Well, because that's a big leap, right? From having no one on staff to,
That's probably
you
the
know,
biggest.
whatever
Yeah.
we're paying that person, which is worth every penny, that's a leap.
Yes.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think in our team, we really know what we're good at. And I would not be good at what Claire does. I could learn it and I'd be okay. But it's like I learned this in leadership with teachers. It's like I had to put teachers in the classrooms with the age group with the teaching assistant where they were going to shine. And I'm good enough out there with people I can build trust, I can build relationships, I can get them to want to work with me. And if I was running all of the like the behind the scenes stuff that Claire did, I would have so many hours that I couldn't be building business. And it's just not worth it.
Production to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's amazing when people can do both and be uber successful in both. That would not be me. Not at all.
So we have about 5 minutes and we are going to end on time. So take me from, holy smokes, first day, I'm not sure I can do this, to today, we're a couple years in. How rewarding has this been? And who have you become in this process to sit here today and share all this through your growth and challenges and just process? I mean, I'm guessing, and I'm not here to put words in your mouth, but being an educator in that life feels probably like a long time ago.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, but at the same time, kind of not the way the time works. Kind of forgot the question. I was getting like, oh God, that's such a big question. Now,
So clearly you've grown into this amazing businesswoman as we sit here today. And again, that's been a couple year process in yet a very short time. I just wanted to ask, and again, we have new people in the room who are in a spot where you were a couple years ago, and it will get better for those of you in that spot. I'm guessing now you hopefully feel like this has been really rewarding. Your life in a lot of aspects is different. The experiences you've had, just kind of reflect with us verbally out loud for what this has been like in how you feel about it today.
Yeah. I mean, it's been incredibly rewarding. I mean, I think and I think personally, it was really powerful for me to recognize that I was unhappy in a career that I felt really tied to and responsible in. I was responsible to the school. I was responsible to children. I mean, being an educator is incredibly important. And I felt like, it was very hard for me to walk away from that. And it was hard for me to walk away from my identity in that as that person. But I also think I feel that I was brave. And to a degree, I wasn't fearless, but I didn't let my fears get in the way. So I feel like that's really buoyed me. Like, I did a really hard thing. A lot of people are just miserable. They're just miserable in their life. They're miserable in their marriage, with their friendships, where they live, in their job, and they just stick in it. And so I think that I always kind of go back to, you did a really hard thing. And so I give myself credit for that. And it is, I mean, working with your friends and people that you love and, admire is incredible. I mean, working with Shannon and Jen and Claire is such a gift. And working in a place where I'm really myself. Like, again, today I said to Shannon and Jen, I think I might have botched a buyer appointment, because literally the last thing I said to them, we had somehow talked about how both Claire and I can say this, had recently been divorced, and they were newlyweds. So I made some joke like, we promise you can work with us, but you won't get divorced. That wasn't even the bad thing I said. And they laughed at that. And then when I'm walking out of their house and I do this ridiculous move where I'm like, we love marriage, or like, I'm like, my God. I was like, what did I do today? And I got in the car and I was like, you're laughing. What did I just do? But what Shannon said, and I said today to Shannon and Jen, I was like, I don't know, guys. I mean, it is Shakopee. I mean, that's pretty far from where I live. I guess if I dropped the ball on that one. But I was also like, I was being me. And I didn't say anything offensive. And I think I, did really great at the meeting, and, it was like, but it's kind of like, I want to be in a career that I can be myself. And, and I feel like 9 times out of 10, who I am and how I show up for my clients is deeply appreciated and valued. And they are choosing me, and they're choosing the Plord team. And I have to just say, like, they had a lot of people they could have worked with. And we often are up against like, oh yeah, but we're going to be meeting with another agent tomorrow. We'll let you know on Monday. And that's the worst feeling. You just want to like have them only meet with you and choose you and be done. But that's not how it works. It's not. And so, but yeah, I feel like this was exactly the move I needed to make when I needed to make it. And obviously being good at it feels good. Being able to provide and be financially, in a good financial place, feels really good. And I mean, I do think also being in this kind of position helped me feel that leaving my marriage was more possible. So I think those are all, Shannon talks a lot about the why. Why are you doing this? What are you motivated for? And I think for me, it was to be happier and ultimately to be able to be a better mother.
You don't walk around saying that word as much anymore.
No. Maybe, but maybe not with as much like forlornness on my face. Maybe with a little more pep in my step. I can't say that my mouth has gotten much better.
So what, closing, just what piece of advice would you give us, as we close?
Oh boy. No, I mean, this sounds so silly, but I also think some cliches really are poignant and important. I just think like we have to do things that are hard. We just do. We just have to put ourselves in uncomfortable positions, because that's when you grow. And I've put myself in a lot of really uncomfortable positions throughout my life, moving here, going to grad school, leaving Atlanta to go to Cal, and I think that every time I do that, it's painful and it's scary. and it always produces something really great. So I think we can get stagnant when we just settle, and I don't think we have to.
And she loves marriage.
I've been married for 53 years. I do love marriage. I hope we find another marriage one day.
Let's give a round of applause. Thank you. Good job. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time. Good job.
Good job. Good job.